We can focus on the political and the religious issues, and we can hope that they can fix it, or we can spend a disproportionate amount of time on actually parenting the next fucking generation to be able to be equipped with the psychological, the biological, the neurological tools that are required in order to go, fuck, we need to make a change. It's not because you told us, because it actually is a good decision. When you look at any disorder in the world, most of this disorder that we see in the world is a result of dysfunctional psychologies that are perceiving information and retrieving information in a dysfunctional way based on the way that they've been brought up. And so once you start to see the implications of good parenting at that early level, and it's not just telling your kid I love you, it's being attuned to the child, it's cuddling the child, it's being positive and affirming, but most importantly creating an environment that feels safe both energetically, physically, as well as psychologically, to the point where that child can just focus on what it needs to do, which is just develop in a safe and healthy environment, and focus on retrieving information from its environment in an efficient and effective way. Most importantly, information from the environment on how to deal with stress and emotion, because this is where we get to. When you start to understand the impacts of stress on infants and newborns and early childhood, even early adolescence, and you start to understand the consequences that stress, both physical stress, mental stress, psychological stress, and the forms that it can take, especially in this day and age, and you start to see the implications at a neurological level on how the brain maladaptively develops, then you start to see that all of the issues that we have that now bubble to the surface in this day and age really revolve around our inability to deal with stress and pain in effective and in healthy ways. Because when you look at how stress is dealt with at a biological level, when we've got biological stress, what do? We fucking give people a pill. When we've got stress at a cultural level, what do? We fucking debate. It's politics. When we've got stress at a country level, intercountry level, interpolitical level, what do? We fucking we go to war, or we impose trade restrictions. We haven't been taught how to respond to stress in healthy ways, and so we respond to stress in ways that we've been conditioned to, and this is what we see on the earth right now. We see an inability to communicate, in some respects, in a healthy way. You see people with an agenda, either politically or religiously, or commercially, and there's not a real focus on, how do we do this? A real focus on not what's right, there's a focus on who's right, whereas the focus should be on, it's not about what's right, it's not about who's God, it's not about whose policy, it's about, what's right? What's right for the individual? What's right for the culture? What's right for the country, the environment? And I think a lot of that has been lost in our inability to raise children in healthy ways, which is the key fucking bombshell here, to regulate stress and emotion in healthy ways so that the brain develops in a fundamentally effective and efficient way so that it can deal with stress and the imposed pain and regulation and emotional issues that the kids are going to be dealt with. I don't know if you've read, dude. I don't know if you've read any of Gabor Mate's work. The Realm of the Hungry Ghosts, or the ADHD Brain, I think is the other one. There's a lot of new data that's coming into play that is helping us understand. Because I honestly believe one of the biggest epidemics that we're about to see right now, it's been around for a long time, but it's now just becoming a lot more mainstream, is addiction. And addiction is, one of those concepts that is often given to individuals that are at the extreme end of the dysfunction. But addiction is a spectrum disorder, and everyone falls onto that spectrum. It just determines, where do you fall? Do you have, low-level impulsive, compulsive habits whereby you have to drink a cup of coffee every day, or you have to go shopping, or whatever that low-lying impulsive, or you've got the high-level impulsive representation of that spectrum, people who are hard intravenous drug users. And if you look at all of those people, the number one thing that they all share that brings them back to that common thread is their inability on some level to be able to regulate the feeling of stress or pain in a healthy way. Now, on the low level, maybe mummy and daddy didn't look at them, they were too busy looking at their phone, didn't get as many hugs and as kisses as what they perhaps wanted or needed, but still got a level of attention. But they weren't sexually abused, physically abused, or emotionally abused. So they'll display low level, behaviours around, compulsion to essentially, get the dopamines and the endorphins required to balance out their low level dopamine endorphin imbalance. Then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got people who have, who are the hard drug intravenous users, where it's something like 80 to 90% of these people have experienced severe sexual abuse, severe emotional abuse, physical abuse. And so as a result, their inability at an extreme level to deal with pain isn't governed by a low level behavior such as, pulling a fucking, a pokey wheel or going and buying a handbag. The only way that they can get their levels effectively moderated is through the use of something that's going to just flood their brain with endorphins at a high level, and so as a result they will use hard drugs. Now when we look at addiction, but it's important to understand control is an addiction, okay? Power is addiction, money is an addiction, and what we're seeing right now, the internet, telephones are addictions, and what we're seeing right now is we're seeing the advent of all these these silo addictions popping up. But what's going to happen at some point is there's going to be this merger where people don't just look at addiction, independently based on certain behaviours. They're going to go, fuck, this is actually a condition that is present throughout my entire life. But most importantly, once these addictions get to a level where they are no longer serving us as an individual, or more importantly, as a culture, it's, in AA, what do they call it when, they call it something, when you surrender because your life has become unmanageable. When it gets to the point where things start becoming unmanageable, that's where we're going to see, the opportunity for real change. And that opportunity fundamentally comes back to understanding how we deal with pain and regulation, how we deal with pain and stress, but most importantly, how we're taught to regulate pain and stress, from everything to when, we're crying as a child. Were we abused when we cried, or were we hugged? Were we told to fucking harden up, or were we told it's okay, you can let it out? Because children need to feel safe to express a level of emotion, but most importantly, when children express emotion, okay, they're looking to their environment to go, okay, I'm expressing a big emotion here. What does my environment tell me to do? Okay, well, fuck. Mum tells me to do when I show a big emotion, or dad tells me when I show a big emotion, you fucking yell at the person showing you big emotion. So if someone gets upset, what do? You fucking yell at them. So what do we see now? If someone's upset, we don't give them compassion, empathy. We fucking yell at them. Whereas what a child needs is when their shit is falling down, they've lost the ability to connect with their prefrontal cortex. They can't rationalise, they can't problem solve. And so what they need is compassion, they need empathy, they need understanding, they need an unconditional level of acceptance. Go, hey, I know this world is big and scary. My job is to make you go, my job is to let you know when it is big and scary. And right now it's not big and scary, so you can fucking cry and wail and everything else, but I'm here to let you know it's not scary, but you can let it out anyway. It's okay. Let it out, let it out, let it out. And so the child goes, okay, so right, this is a big emotion, he's cool, so if he's cool, then I can be cool. And then over time and over exposure, children start to realise that, okay, there are certain situations where I just got to calm down, and we teach our kids how to regulate. People say to me, how do we change it? How do we fucking deal with, the carbon issue? How do we deal with climate change? How do we deal with the prospect of nuclear war? How do we deal with artificial, intelligence? And to me, it's like, I'm all about causality. It's like, I don't focus on making money. Okay, I make a lot of money. I'm very grateful for that fact. But you can ask anyone I know, I don't focus at all. I focus zero energy on making money. I focus all my energy on delivering value in the areas that I have commercial expertise, and as a natural consequence, my bank account is fucking overflowing with money. And so for me, it's about causality. It's like, okay, if you focus on the money, you're 8 times more likely to fuck it up. 8 times more likely to lie, cheat, deceive. 7 times more likely to experience stress-related illness, right? So it makes no sense to focus on money because it fucks you up. So focus on the things as a natural consequence, produce money. And the same is true for this planet. We can focus on all the climate change issues and we can hope that we can fix it. We can focus on the political and the religious issues and we can hope that they can fix it. Or we can spend a disproportionate amount of time on actually parenting the next fucking generation to be able to be equipped with the psychological, the biological, the neurological tools that are required in order to go, fuck, we need to make a change. It's not because you told us, because it actually is a good decision. How do we teach people to make how have people learned to make good decisions? How they've been demonstrated. And right now, if people aren't being demonstrated, if they've never been shown how to make and that's another thing with kids. So often, a child would do something wrong and they get in trouble. And so we teach them, we condition them to be afraid of failure. when that is the very thing that's required in order to succeed, is the ability to go out and fail. You know, we teach people to be dishonest because when they tell the truth, they're in trouble. You know, and I know with my son, he can lie to me whenever he wants, and he knows he's not going to get in trouble. But if he comes to me and tells me that he lies, he's going to get celebrated. You know, and so as a result, he knows that he can tell me the truth anytime. He's not going to get in trouble because we don't get in trouble for telling the truth. We get rewarded for telling the truth. You know?
That's beautiful. And that's just such a safe place for him to know to be. Like, he can come to you and say anything about it.
Express any big emotion. Say, and it's this, it all comes back to this chalice of safety. Kids need to grow up in an environment where they feel safe. And, you know, we have some parts in the world where you have multi-generational PTSD, you know, in places like Syria and Iraq, in conflict zones, in Africa. And the only way that we're going to break this cycle, and whether it be in a conflict zone or in, you know, or in fucking, you know, Qatar or the Gold Coast, is through parenting. And most people, like, when it comes to anything, we're not given a fucking user's manual.
Totally.
No one gave us a user's manual and, oh, you want to be a successful entrepreneur? Fuck, here's a user's manual. There's lots of books, you know, there's lots of noise, but no one actually gave us the user's manual. And it's only now with the latest innovations and developments in technology where we can really start to image the brain in a range of different scenarios and circumstances that we're now actually starting to see the fundamental science that is emerging in early development of, okay, when a child is stressed and we're trying to get them to self-soothe, okay, wow, shit, their brain is actually maladapting. Their brain is pumping blood in the wrong directions, okay, and they are learning, and as a result of that, they're creating a dopamine or an endorphin receptor profile that is going to be imbalanced and different to a child that has been shown how to soothe through contact and physical regulation and breathing and or just being touched, being cuddled, you know. Yeah, I could fucking bang on about this stuff for days.
Brilliant. We should have scheduled like a whole day. I love it.
Hey YouTube, thank you so much for watching this piece of content. Do me a favor, give me the thumbs up, leave a comment below, let me know what you liked, and also what would you like to see more of. Super appreciate what you're doing, super appreciate your attention and your eyeballs. Share this with a friend, share this with a family member, someone who it might support, and I'll see you in the next video.